Hello everybody. Right, I think that's working. How are we all doing? So, good afternoon down on the farm. Hope you're well. I always forget you got to get in this side, haven't you? So we're off today to do our parsnips today. Oh, I just moved myself in a little bit nearer. Sitting miles away from the keyboard there. Let's put some lights on just to let everybody who's not on the map know we're here. And we've got 2 tractors and trailers running again today. You don't want too many, otherwise it starts to get a little bit complicated for auto drive. So we will just do we'll just do the 2. I tend to find that 2 works absolutely fine. If this had a tank, 1 might even be enough for how far away we're going. So we're back today. We've just stopped, but today we're back. So we're starting from the main farm today. So as I say, we're going away. So that forest there, we've cleared that, or I've cleared that, and the farm offices and other buildings are going in there, and the farm workers' houses are going in there as well. But yeah, so we are. That's where the farm, as I say, the farm offices, and there'll be a garden, there'll be a park, houses for the workers at the back there, and then so where those 2 trees are, basically I've marked it with the raised ground. So everything to the left will be built on, but everything to the right is not to be built on. But that will come again in the winter. So it's in the winter when we add all this in as well. Last winter added in the beef stock, and added in the dairy, which is just round the corner, just there. So that's the dairy, and basically the excuse me, the plan is that the beef stock will supply the butchery that we've got, which is down on our industrial estate, which you will eventually see when we come to start moving this year's harvest around. At the moment it's all in silos at the moment, but when we come to as I say, move it around, like the carrots, and today we're doing parsnips today. I've still got 4 carrot fields left, or 4 fields of carrots left, which is what I was actually trying to say. But English is supposedly not my first language. Anyway, yes, we've still got them left. So we've still got that to do, or we've still got them to do, I should say, and then we'll be sort of good to go. What I'm going to do is, so just as we come down here, you can see the buildings in front. So this is the overflow farm from the main farm, because there's not a huge amount of storage room down at the main farm. It tends to be sort of more grain sheds, and the silos are there. The house that I live in is obviously there as well. So a lot of the overflow equipment, like the sugar beet harvesters and stuff like that, and this as well, lives at that them sheds and the BJ that you see there. So here is the fields of parsnips. So the one to my left, obviously, and then going this way as well. I'm going to do this one first, mainly because they're a little bit close to the edge there, and I won't be able to go around that headland. So I'm going to be doing these ones first. But we do need to set the harvester up for this one. So we need to do, I think it's 6. Let's have a look. Yeah, so do 6 headlands. So we'll do that, we'll unfold that, we'll turn the flashy lights off, we'll get that into position, which is about there. That'll do. Turn that on, drop that down, and then we'll connect in with the tractors and trailers, and we should be able to get underway. We'll raise that up so we don't have no crashes, and that as well, so it goes over the roof. And then we're on guided steering, so that does allow me now to just set that up. That should be okay. There we go, parsnips are going through. We are harvesting. So yeah, that was the reason why I didn't start the other side, because obviously we would collide with them. But as we get moving and get sort of set up and going, there'll come a time when there isn't a tractor and trailer there, and we'll be able to excuse me, we'll be able to run alongside there with the tractors and trailers, and there'll be no collisions. But yeah, so we've got that field just there, this field here, that field there, and that I think that's all we've got for that one. The fields beyond that, so the fields just here that you can see, that was yesterday's live stream where the Grimmy Rexall was doing the red beets, and if you was there for the live stream yesterday, you'll know that a million miles in that direction we were, because it's a big map this is, we were doing the we were harvesting that field of carrots. So yeah, as I say, today it's to get on with the parsnips, and then we'll be into our 4 fields of carrots, which are, so the other side, so you got the sugar factory there, and then you go round the sort of corner from that, and on the back side of that is 4 big fields, well 4 big-ish fields, they're not huge, but it's 4 fields of carrots, and that's to go with the carrots that we've already got, that we've already harvested yesterday, which gave us 1,200, sorry, gave us 1.2 million litres of carrots. So we should be able to produce plenty of soup, because that's what we do with our veg. So parsnip soup, carrot soup, red beet soup, potato soup maybe. I finished the potatoes. I had to do them with my old computer, so I wasn't able to live stream that, because the old computer is, bless her, she's had a long life, and she doesn't handle live streaming too well. Whereas I've now, as I said yesterday, got my new computer back from the menders, and we're able to crack on with live streaming. So as you can see, it's a little bit cloudy today, which is a little bit of a bugger. I don't like it when it's not sunny and bright blue skies and bright sky. I don't know. I just you know, the game looks better. Don't get me wrong, like cloud and, you know, sort of low lying cloud as that is, is still, you know, quite fun to see within the game, but yeah, I do quite like to see the sun. This ground up here is very, very soft, and we are sinking in, which, as I said yesterday, was a bugbear of this map. But I love the map too much not to stop for me to stop playing it. But the tractors, even on dry land, do sink in an absolute ridiculous amount of depth into the soil. I've just realised we should be okay. So at the moment the field doesn't seem to be yielding too bad, which is good. We're at 99%, which is not too bad. You know, that's quite acceptable. So we're doing 80.6 tonnes. Yesterday with the field of carrots that I harvested, I was getting around about 109 tonnes to the hectare. So again, and we were in a big field as well, so that actually has boosted this year's yields up quite nicely. And does mean that overall now, even if the carrots that we've got down this end of the farm don't do so well, the fact that the first field did so good means that we should be okay. You know, we're still in profit range, or we're already in profit range. I mean, look at that. That is absolutely bloody ridiculous how much the ground just sinks away like that. I mean, if you were coming like, and this is dry, you know, and if you were coming in here, which, you know, we're gonna have to plough it. We've got no choice but to plough that, and I don't really like ploughing if I can help it. You know, sort of, it doesn't help the soil structure in terms of doing it every year or whatever. So you know, I sort of, ideally I like to just cultivate this green in, because the green that's being left from the parsnips is really good natural fertilizer. So I don't like ploughing it in. I prefer to mix it in with a set of discs, and I think that the land and we do far better doing that. But with how much this sinks in, we probably are going to have to plough it, which is a bit of an issue. But anyway, that's nearly got the first trailer full. So we've done, what have we done? A breed and a bit. A round and a bit, really, haven't we? It's not the biggest of fields again, but we'll get it there. The headlands is what takes the time with these fields. Once you get the headlands done, in general, really, you can start to motor up and down them. But as I say, the headlands do take a little minute, just to get done. Here we go for more sinking in. It's essentially anywhere the crop isn't. That's what I'm finding. Which, as I say, the farm year that I've had on the game so far has been pretty dry. The last rain that I remember having on the game was when I was doing the spinach, and I think that was in June, and that was the last time I can remember having some rain, and we'd finished the spinach as well, so I wasn't harvesting while it was wet. But yeah, the ground just, I don't know. I'd kind of like to know what the map maker has done to the terrain to make it so soft, so that I could take away what he's done so that the ground goes back to being normal, because people believe that having ground that sinks as much as that, dynamic ground or dynamic terrain or whatever they call it, adds realism to the game. It doesn't. You know, as I've said, we haven't had no rain on this map for around sort of 3 months, and the ground is just sinking and rotting like we've had rain consistently for 3 years. So it doesn't add anything to the game at all. Like I say, if the map wasn't so good, then there's no way I'd be playing this map. But because the map is so good, I sort of persevere with it even though I don't like it. Right, while there's no one waiting on the side of the field, we will get ourselves in here. As we can see, the ground is ridiculously soft. But we'll try and get ourselves a going. As I say, we can sort of try and do these headlands while there is no, because the tractors are parking just there. And so therefore we need to get as much of this headland done as we can while it's not there. We'll get the headland done to this field at least. Then we'll go back into that field and finish that field, and then come back in here and then finish the middle to this field. I know it seems a bit of an arse about face way of doing it, but it will help. So yeah, we'll just get these. Sorry about that. I lost my microphone there for a second. I I accidentally pulled the wire out the back. But anyway, we're back again now. So if there is anyone in the stream, feel free to say hello, and yeah, just say hello and what you're up to. It's always good to have a good chat while we're playing. I can't believe it's midday already. I was drilling that field, as you can see with the tractor over there, but it was like, well, yes, I've got to drill the field, but I do need to try and get some of this crop harvested, because as I say, we are, well, I say we're running out of time. We've got until the end of November, I think, to do these fields, but I do want to try and get as many done as I can. We need to soon start to get the factories up and running again for the winter time. But as I say, if there is anyone in the chat, as I say, feel free to say hello. Now you might be wondering, why have you done that headland and then you're in this field? So we started off in that other field, that field that you can see in front of us, because the tractors park on the edge of this headland here, and I can't get the carts down the side there. So we started off to get them into the circuit that they're doing, so that it frees up then this headland for me to do this headland, and then we can finish the headlands in this field, and then we can go back, finish the middle of that field, and then come back into this one and finish the middle of this one. I know it sounds a bit, as I say, a bit about face, but having experienced this field with veg before, it's the best way to do it with auto drive and trying to not to get things to collide. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I do like me veg farming though. I must admit I prefer it over arable farming. I just like the steady pace of it. I liked it in real life, say back on the farm when I was working on the farm. You know, I enjoyed it back then, doing the veg harvest, whether, you know, driving a traction trailer or usually driving one of the Grimmy GT 170s, but you know, whichever, I sort of didn't mind. Just really enjoyed it. So this is the overfill or the overflow farm. As you can see, I've sort of kind of got my so the sugar beet harvester goes here as well. We've got a big Bailey trailer with the silage sides on for spinach. Got two spinach harvesters, two pea harvesters or viners, and then two green bean harvesters, but one's at the shop. So one's currently being is in for repairs. So we've only got the one sat there at the moment, but there is normally two. As I say, one's currently in for a service and repairs, which is good. And then we've got the BGA, which are built but I've not really used, and then the sugar factory, because that yard there is where I bring all my sugar beet. You know, when we need to produce the sugar, which is usually over winter. All the sugar beet that I've got this year though is all the way over there on the other side of the map, so it's it's going to be a bit of a trek this year, but it'll be fine. It'll be okay. We'll get there. eventually all of the forests that you can see around here as well will be cleared eventually. Sort of enjoy a bit of forestry over winter as well. That's always good fun. I don't know whether that tractor's going to be in the way. Just going to have to see what happens when we get round there. Or is he... I think he may have slowed right down to wait. No, he might have been slowing down to turn. But I'm not sure whether or not he's going to be in the way. Might get away with it. We'll risk it for a biscuit. Not that I'm going to get a biscuit out of it, but we'll still risk it anyway. Ooh, I don't know. Might be alright, might be alright. It's going to be close. Yeah, we're okay. There was more room there really than what it looked. More room there than what it looked. And so we should be able to get these headlands done now. And then we'll go back into that other field, finish the headlands in that field, do the middle of that field, and then come back and do the middle of this field. It's a bit wonky way of doing it, but it is the best way of getting the veg out of these fields. To do the headlands first, get them opened up, and then we can crack on with the middles of the fields then. So in real life we used to do it this way, so that if by night time we'd got to it, like if we'd finished say this field and we were 8-9 o'clock at night, obviously usually it's winter time or sort of darker nights when you're doing this sort of harvest, it meant that we didn't have to open up a field in the dark. You know, you could just literally go straight into the next field. The field was opened up, it was all ready to be harvested, and that's what you would then do. And it just meant that you weren't driving around the edge of dikes or whatever, when you couldn't really see them, because it was dark. So that's the reason why I do it the way that I do. It's the way I did it in real life, and it's the way I do it on Farm Sim. I don't have to do it on Farm Sim, it really doesn't matter, but I don't know, I just I like to sort of try and play the game as I did it in real life, and as I say, that is one way that we did it, and that is why we did it the way that we did it. Was just so that, as I say, if you did get to a field at night time, you didn't have to go around the headlands. It was all ready for you to go. Always lift the belts up because they don't hit their cabs on it then. I really like those ARXs, they're really good pulling tractors. Still not yielding too bad. So we're doing 80.6 tonnes to the hectare at the moment, which is pretty good. So we are still yielding well. I would potentially like to see a little bit more, but at 99%, it's pretty good. Over the 3 or 4 fields that I've got of parsnips, that will put us in profit for the year. When you're thinking about profit, you've got to think about the wages that it costs to do this. In terms of the tractors and trailers, obviously I have them buying fuel constantly, so that's like a running cost that you would get in real life. And then you've got to think about the wages that it was for, because I'd have a worker that would plough the land or cultivate the land, whichever. Then I would come in and ridge the land. So again, diesel and operating costs for the tractors. And then I would come back again then and plant the land. And again, operating costs and, diesel. Then you've got lime, fertiliser, and all that good stuff. And then, as I say, and then we're back in here again. We have the electricity for the stores, that we keep the veg in until we want to process it. So if the rest of these 4 fields, it's either 3 or 4 fields, I can't remember, hit 99% yield. So I have a threshold that, depending on the crop, so veg crops, if you can get over 90% potential yield, you make a profit on the farm, the crop overall, depending on how many fields you've got. If you've only got 1 field, then you're going to make a good profit. But if you've got, as we've got, I'm sure it's 4 fields, I'm sure it's this one, that one there, and then, or it might just be, I think the furthest field was 2 separate fields and I joined them together. So it's sort of 3 fields, but 4 fields it was before I joined it together. As long as we hit over 90%, then over the 4 fields we're going to make a profit. But obviously the more fields that you have, the greater then you need to be over that 90%. To still be making a profit. And the most expensive thing that goes on these fields is lime. Honestly, lime is astronomical. Fertiliser's not too bad. Tend to put it in with the planters. So fertiliser not too bad, not really. Like I say, I tend to do that with the planters. But yeah, lime. The weed control is genuinely done by either subsoiling or ploughing, but we have sort of moved over on veg land when it's dry. Ignore the roots, that's just the way the map's built. But when it's dry, I tend to just incorporate the green in with the discs and then just drill straight on top of that. But if it wasn't dry, and if it was sort of, we were harvesting this wet, then we would then look to plough it, and I would probably prefer the plough over the subsoil, or over the subsoiler I should say, just because again the plough will level everything. A plough is basically a reset button. So you literally get to reset your fields with the plough. Where the subsoiler is that kind of, the land doesn't need ploughing, but it does need lifting to to help with drainage and all the other good stuff that subsoiling does do to the ground. And the most ideal time to do subsoiling is when the ground is just starting to crack on top. That's the best time to subsoil. And if the ground is sort of quite dry and you're going in quite deep, you can actually, if you have your rear window open, sometimes you can actually hear the land popping as you bust open the pan. That's usually about 14 inches down roughly, between 14 and 16 inches down the pan will be, and you can hear the ground sort of popping, and as well you can see the ground sort of lifting up, like when the subsoil is going through. It's when you're on a tractor for 18 hours a day, as we were back in the summers. No, I don't know why the game does that. it highlights one, you press it, and then it latches onto another one. It's a bit frustrating that, but yeah. So as I say, you start to sort of enjoy watching things like that because I mean, when I first started tractor driving, it wasn't too bad because you had to drive the tractors. But by the time sort of my farming career was coming to an end, um, you know, GPS was driving the tractors, and everything was automated really, in the sense that a Challenger would turn itself on the end of the field, you know, lift and lower the implements, and you know, say steering down a field. I tend, if it depended on what job I was doing. Like if I was tatey setting, then I would use GPS because, you know, it's fairly essential that the rows are straight and you're getting in square at each end, and everything's in line. But if I was just subsoiling, or if I was just ploughing or whatever, you know, I would tend to still do it the old-fashioned way. You get a lot of satisfaction out of out of you know, sort of driving and ploughing a field or cultivating a field in a straight line. You know, that you've done yourself rather than just pressing a button and you know, and letting NASA guide you up and down the field. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, they're able to guide rockets from Earth to Moon and Moon to Earth, you know, so they're very good at it, but it takes the fun out of driving, doesn't it? I wouldn't be opposed to NASA getting me and my car around around the country. You know, I can't wait till the day that self drives are a normal thing, and I can afford it. That would be my ideal world. That would be to have a self driving car, so that you know, I could take myself off wherever, and kinda cute. I needed him to move because otherwise these two were going to collide. But yeah, a self-driving car would be really nice. So I could just sort of wake up one morning and think, right, I'll have a drive to Scotland today. Get in the car, you know, say to the car, right, I want to go to this part of Scotland. And whilst you'd have to be obviously in the car to get there, but in the, you know, still a driver's seat so that you could override it or whatever. I mean, I don't know, I was watching a program about it the other day, about the self-drive cars, and a lot of them, the person within the car was, you know, sort of sleeping and eyes closed and whatever else, and the car was getting them around just fine. So yeah, it definitely appeals to me, but we'll see if it ever becomes a reality. I'm sure it will do, but perhaps not in my lifetime, but one more time around on the headlands, all for one row of parsnips. That's got to be not a waste of diesel for sure, right? That's anyway. tell you what, this is one heck of a gradient of hill, isn't it? Blimey. Thankfully we're managing to get up there relatively well, but yeah, it could have posed. I suppose it would have done if it had been wet. It would have been a bit more trickier, but can't believe that headland hasn't quite worked out. It was planted so that it would work out, but not quite. Someone clearly got the measurements wrong that was planting these fields. That would be me. Dear me, never mind. I would say what's happened is, so what I do is I set the GPS to 4, plant to 3, and then after I finish planting the field, to sort of square it all up, I then come round with a power harrow, and I would say what I've done is I've power harrowed the 2 end rows off, because if I remember correctly, and it was a little while ago since I've planted these fields, I would say I'm sure I had it so that there on the end there was 3 rows, not 4, because obviously it's a 4-row harvester. But I thought 3 rows is not bad. Like, you know, I can live with 3 rows, and just not be harvesting 1 row. And I would say what's happened is that the power harrows come in here when I've been tidying up and squaring the fields off. I've actually taken out 2 of the last 3 rows, and hence the reason why it's now left. It's left 1 row on each of the headlands, which is a bit annoying, to be fair, because you don't really want to be going down the field for 1 row, do you? But there we go, it is what it is, so we'll have to make do, I guess. I suppose as long as it gets harvested, it doesn't really matter in the end, does it? Yeah, look, we've only got one row coming up there, so never mind. Like I say, mind you, the 1 row is yielding quite well. It's still yielding 99% and 80.6 tons to the hectare, so that's still not too bad. We've got quite a bit off these headlands here, and then as I say, once we get round this field, we're then going into the field next door, and then we're going to finish the headlands in there. But once we finish the headlands in there, we are going to finish the middle of the field as well, so the main part of the field. But I just wanted to get these 2 headlands knocked off, so that if it comes dark on the game, when we come to harvest at night time, I won't have to worry too much about headlands and just go straight into the middle of the field, which will be a lot better. Let's lift the camera up a little bit so we can see where we're going. And say we'll just take this row off. I mean, we're barely producing it. Whoop. Yeah, I tell you what, it is slippery. We'll lock it onto GPS and do it that way. Yeah, so what's basically happened is the power harrow has ended up taking the last 2 rows, 2 of the last 3 rows, hence the reason why we've only got one row of parsnips, which, you know, is unfortunate, but it is what it is. You can tell this bit's downhill. I'm almost tempted to do the whee. It's quite considerably downhill. I say we're not quite producing enough parsnips to keep the animation going, unfortunately, which as I say, is a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's the only problem when you're sitting for hours upon hours, you do tend to get bum ache. Bit of a sharp turn there, which is not good. Tell you what, harvesting at 99%, we are going to fill these trailers fairly rapidly, which is good. Which is very good. I really do need to keep a better eye on these trailers though. I think the last 3 trailers that have been filling up, I've noticed that they're nearly full and then kind of just not bothered to keep an eye on it and ended up overfilling. soon be able to get into the middle of this field, which would be good to get this one cleared, and then, as I say, we can go back into the first field, then get that cleared, and then come round to here, get this one done. So yeah, I think this field, because I said I had 4, and I think I did, well, I would have done, but I think I joined these 2 fields together. So I think there was a field at the top there, and then probably about halfway, or so far down, would have then been the other field, but I joined them together. These fields are not really the best fields for veg, but because of the rotation that we've got going on, unfortunately, 1 year out of every, is it 4 or 5, they're going to be veg. They're going to be parsnips or carrots or whatever. So, but this next year come in, so the land where the sugar beet currently is, that will probably become veg. It's either going to become veg or soybeans. I've not quite decided, but it will be a second spring crop. So the rotation tries to incorporate 2 spring crops, 3 winter crops, and then spring crop, and then we go, and then the rotation starts again. So it's basically to try and, in real life, it would be to try and combat blackgrass. And that's the reason why you would do the rotation like that. But on Farming Sim, blackgrass doesn't have, there is no such thing. So I don't, as a farmer on the game, I don't actually have to worry about it. But that's the reason why the rotation that I've got is set up the way that it is so that if there was such a thing, we would try and combat it, or try and keep it down, because I say, if I was a real world farmer in the UK, I wouldn't be allowing blackgrass to run wild like some farms tend to do. They sort of give it large on on the street when you're talking to them, and we do this, that, and everything else, and we do this, and we've got this running here, and we spray this, and do all of these things, and then one farmer that I talk to quite regular, he sort of insists that he's well on top of the blackgrass job, but he sort of kind of forgets that his farm's literally around where I live, and they don't do half the stuff that he says that they're doing to combat blackgrass. And if he does do half the stuff that he's suggesting that he does to combat blackgrass, then he needs to rethink his strategy, because his fields, well, I can't work out whether the wheat has ended up growing in the blackgrass or whether the blackgrass is growing in the wheat. I can't really work it out, but it's I know it's a very difficult thing to control, but at the same time, you've got to make a bit of a fight of it, ain't you? Just going to be left with the annoying one row around the outside again, which is a bit frustrating. But like I say, I think what's happened is that I've measured it out right with the planter, and then used I probably ended up using my 8-meter power harrow, and I've taken the last 2 rows off, so I'll have to remember that for next year, that I need to use my 6-meter power harrow, so that I don't take the end rows off. Tell you what, we're not all that far from the farm, but they're only just getting round, really. The farm is literally just over there, So in that direction, straight through the forest there, that's the farm on the other side of that forest. So they're only just getting round, which is why, as I say, when I was doing the carrots the other day, yesterday, I had to have 3 tractors and trailers because they couldn't get round, but they were travelling a very long way. They were travelling virtually the width of the map, and I think I'm right in saying this is a 4 times map. Could be an 8 times map. Done it again, look. I've not been paying attention. I wish the tractors and trailers would treat this as a forager, and as soon as they got back to the field would then follow the trailer that you're filling, so that when that trailer was full, literally they just drive underneath, because you know it's this wait time that ends up making the job you know, sort of take longer than it needs to, because you're constantly having to sit and wait for them, which is a bit, you know, sort of not very good. But it used to be, I don't know whether it's still the same, I mean it might be, I don't know, because I don't tend to do foraging anymore, but it used to be with the forage harvesters that if you was filling a trailer, auto drive would come and drive behind the trailer that you was filling, unless it was the old course play that used to do that. Maybe I'm remembering it on the wrong mod, I don't know. I wish the 19 version of course play would come back. It was so much more reliable and predictable than what auto drive is. You know, if we're gonna have to have auto drive, I think that auto drive needs a new feature, and I think the feature that it needs to have is the ability to drive, the ability to control the tractor and trailer from the harvester. So if I wanted to stop him now while I sort myself out, or you know, while I'm sort of doing what I'm doing, but I wanted to stop him, I should be able to control that from my harvester. Yeah, like I say, I do think that should be a thing. And the same when you're combining, like to have the auger out all the time, the tractor should just go at the time that you've told it to. So on course play, you know, you'd sometimes have it set to 75% full, and then the tractor at 75% full would start moving towards the combine. You have that on this, but that only counts for when, I'm assuming, when course play is on the harvester, and not when you're on the harvester. So you know, again, it's a little bit frustrating sometimes, but I know it's just me. And at no point do I want anyone to think that I'm criticising auto drive, because it is an absolutely fantastic mod. It's just, I think it could be made better, and as I say, to have the ability to have, you know, options in here where I can control him. So like when you're doing tight turns and that's when they tend to hit you, if I could just stop him while I make my turn and get where I need to be and then start him again, that would be awesome. That would be absolutely you know, fantastic to have that ability, to have that option available. But there we go. Probably asking a bit much, to be fair, and like I say, I'm not a mod maker, so I don't know. I know that the people that do make these wonderful mods for the game work incredibly hard, and you know, it's all unpaid and it's all in their free time. So I'm sort of not criticising too much, but you know, at the same time, suggestions and feedback I think are a good thing. You know, they you know, suggestions and feedback can make something that's already good even better. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. For hard ground, this harvester is now sinking in, and it's on tracks. Well, there we go. We all know my bugbear. I won't. I promise I won't start again. Get this Lasprey. What way are we going? We're going that way, are we? Get this. Oh, that's the way the rows are going. So that's okay. Auto drive selected the correct way, straight from the not auto drive. The guidance system. I quite like the new guidance system over the GPS mod that we had in sort of 1922, etc. I quite like the way Giants does it. And the other thing that I really like as well is the fact that now you put the tram lines onto the field via the menu, and then you can just go and drill the field, and you know the tram lines are in the right place. I quite like that as well. I mean, I didn't mind an FS22 with the Proceed mod having to drill my own tram lines. So it was no problem. You know, it was no issue, but this is just such a easy, convenient way of doing it. And I guess, you know, being a modern day human, I'm looking for easy and convenient. I don't want to do no work with it. So the fact that Giants have now made it so that all I have to do is click, you know, 3 buttons to tell it how wide to set them apart, and then all I do is just drive my drill up and down the, you know, I don't even, because before obviously you needed the right size drill to drill the tram lines that you wanted to drill. So if you wanted to drill 36 metre tram lines, obviously you needed a drill that could divide into 36. So, you know, like a 6 metre drill, you know, whatever. You know, you that was what you needed. But with the way Giants do it, you know, you don't need that. You know, you can literally have an 11.75 metre drill that drills, you know, 22, 24, any, you know, width tram line, which I guess is a little bit, you know, sort of not that good, but for myself, with the, I mean, I do try to keep it the correct width with the drill to drill the tram line. So I've got a 9 metre drill that drills 36 metre tram lines. So I do try to keep it as, you know, as near as I can get it, but yeah, it's still nice to be able to just put the tram lines on the field and then sort of go from there. Good morning to you, Jeff, as well. Hope you're well today. As you can see, we're doing a spot more harvesting today. We're in the parsnips today. Still got the carrots to do there and there, but we'll crack on to them. We were doing carrots yesterday. I thought we'd change it up. But we've still got them to do, so it's only going to be for we've got this the field in front, this field here, and then that field over there to do, that field just there. But we've taken the headlands off these two fields, and then we're just going to try and get them harvested as quick as possible, really. We're not yielding quite so well in the oh, there we go, we're back up to 99%. There's only that little bit, which is good. We don't want too many bits where we're in the 70s. Thank you very much, Jeff. I think it's probably years of practice on FS and finally getting to grips with auto drive. I think that's possibly what it could be. And the fact that I've removed every single tree off the map apart from the forests, that helps as well. That helps massively, because they don't have trees to crash it. I've kept all the forests, but because of the way the map's set out, we don't go anywhere near the forests, so we can keep things fairly separated. And like I say, it's just about sort of learning which way round you can go, and yeah. But no, I appreciate it, mate, and I do enjoy veg harvesting as well. To be fair, I prefer it over combine harvesting and stuff like that. So, you know, obviously I like it because it's a part of farming, but if I had to choose, if I was on multiplayer and they said, do you want to drive the combine or the veg harvester, I'd definitely be driving the veg harvester, definitely. Yeah, definitely be my choice, or even the tractor and trailer. I don't mind doing that job either, but the computer itself, the helper, the AI helper, is not that great with the harvester. So I drive the harvester and they drive the tractors and trailers, and between the two of us, somehow we get it done. It's amazing, isn't it, that they're set to not drive over the crop, but they always drive over the crop. And that one sort of from there didn't think, oh, if I just sort of about turn, go along that headland and then up the lands there, I'll be able to get to him. No, this one's sort of, if I go all the way around the field and make him wait another 2 minutes, I might be able to annoy him a bit more. Excuse me. Oh, no, we're still going to go all the way around. Excuse me. I was going to say, if he takes much longer to get here, the other one's going to be emptied and back round. You could do with sticking that out just a little bit more, so as we hit the middle of the trailer more. Not quite got that arm in the right place. It's a bit of a shame that you have to move it to get them in and out, but if I didn't move it, then obviously they'd crash into it, and that just doesn't look very good, does it, if they do that? So we'll try, and we'll have to sort of do it a little bit unrealistically at this point, just to do this gauze. But once we get out of this corner, we can then do it properly then. So for those of you that are out there and interested, 1950s Farm is back on the channel tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And I'm hoping that either towards the end of this week to possibly the beginning of next week, there will be some live streaming on the map as well, on 1950s Farm as well, because we've got quite a bit of ploughing to do. And sowing to do, and rather than sort of, because you know, in the episodes there will still be episodes for the people that are at work during the day, or the time differences, and you know, sort of all that good stuff. So there'll still be episodes, and no one will miss out on anything that I do. But in the bits in the episodes where I sort of say, "Oh, off screen, I'll do this," that's the bits that we will live stream. And it basically, the sort of reason why I'm doing that is because I had one or two messages towards the end of when I was doing it before Christmas, of people saying, "Oh, it's clearly very easy what you're doing. You're doing your little bits with your tractors on your videos, and then you go away and use all the big stuff, and that's how you're able to do, sort of get round everything." And I thought, well, actually, that's not a bad idea. It would definitely speed my job up no end, but I thought that's not what I do. I do actually do all the work with the little tractors, like I say, that I do. And so the idea that I kind of come up with was, well, okay, the only way that I could possibly prove that is to live stream it. And show people that I do actually do, I do sort of sit up for hours and hours and hours and hours at night time, ploughing 1950s fields with the yellow crawler, and doing it that way. But personally, I love it. As anyone that knows me or the channel knows that ploughing was predominantly my job on the farm, and I love sitting there with the old crawler and the old plough, ploughing away. I don't know if people are aware of it, but there is actually, if I can find it, there is now a swing plough and or swivel plough or whatever. But having used it, let me just tell you, that's the future. Honestly, that is far better than our reversible ploughs that we have. To have the swing plough, so that you literally just drive up and down and the plough just swings one way or t'other, depending on which way you want to plough. It's the future. Why that hasn't caught on in the UK, I have no idea. I first saw, I think it was Field Rose, using one, and I thought, well, that's an interesting concept, but I've never seen it before, so it's either a sort of homemade jobby or, you know, whatever. And then I started to really look into it, and I was like, oh no, it's actually a real thing. And lo and behold, like a week later, a mod comes out of it, and I was like, all right, well, there we go. I thought that's a bit of a coincidence, but yeah, so that is, as I say, I've used it on this map. I ploughed the onion land with it, and it's awesome. I absolutely love it. Like I say, far better than the reversible ploughs. Less weight, less strain on the tractor, easier to pull. You just gotta, honestly, like I say, it's the future. The only reason I can see why it hasn't necessarily caught on in this country is maybe the width of it, because obviously the bar needs to be quite, the swivel bit needs to be quite wide, so that the plough is able to turn and change its angles. That's the only stumbling block, because in this in the UK we have a 3.5 metre, or I think it might be 3 metre now. I think they lowered it by sort of half a metre because, if I remember correctly, about 10 years ago there was a really big, there was a really nasty accident with a machine that was 3.5 metres wide, and I think someone got killed, and it meant that the width was changed to 3 metres. I think I'm right in saying that, because I'm pretty certain that's why Vadestad drills and cultivators all fold up to 3 metres, and I might be wrong in saying this, I don't know, but yeah, so whether that would probably be the stumbling block, I guess, is the width of them. But yeah, absolutely awesome. Honestly, it was so enjoyable to finally be able to enjoy ploughing on FS25, because if you try and use a reversible plough, you just can't do it, because it doesn't plough the furrows wide enough for the tractors. You have to use row crops in order to get the tractor's wheels into the furrow, and that's just silly, because obviously you're going to end up bending the wheels on the row crops if you were ploughing with it. Or the only other way was to use the Lemkin plough and plough on land with it, but even that wasn't that brilliant, and Giants haven't quite got the width markers on it set up properly, so it doesn't quite work with the guidance that they've implemented into the game. So to have that swivel plough, and like I say, that's set up perfectly with the guidance, it works absolutely fine. So I ploughed all the onion land. Try and say it the right way if I can, but I'll have a go, Jeff. I think, as far as I'm aware, I am set to, it could just be, let me, hang on, that might be the reason why. Just let me know whether that is the reason, or whether It could just be that I was sat a little bit too far away. All of the settings for today are from yesterday. So I didn't actually play with anything today. I thought, do you know what, actually people were saying it was okay yesterday, I'll leave it be. Yeah, I think it was just because I was sat, I think I was just sat too far away. So I've got a little bit of a new setup, and the microphone can't stretch as far as what it used to, and the desk is a little bit further away, and I was being lazy, so I do apologise, but hopefully that's okay now, and hopefully everyone can hear me properly now. Good afternoon, PA Player Boy. I hope you're well. Hope you're good. Not working too hard. But yeah, so I've just realised actually we've come down the wrong bit, look, because I'm actually driving through the crop on this side. So that's not good. I know we are the other side, but that's because we've got a tight little corner. But never mind. I'm sure we'll still make a job of it. Just a case of getting, as I say, out of this gauze, because it's what holds the job up. It does take an awful long time when you're just short turning all the time. That is so frustrating when that just keeps latching on to other lines and rows. Still wet and icy where you are, is it? Yeah, it's the weather's actually improved here. This is now our third day without rain this year. We've had, up until Sunday, we'd had rain or snow or some sort of wet conditions every day since the 1st of January. I was hoping earlier to get out and do a little video on the state of the fields with all the water on, because I mean I've never seen the fields under so much water as what they are. And then I was going to do a little trip out to a place called Welney Wash, which is where there's a road that goes round to a place called 10 Mile Bank, and apparently at the moment that road is under, I think they said, 4.5 feet of water. So I was going to go around there and see if I could do a little video on that, but I've since, when I was sort of kind of planning that and looking at the local traffic and stuff like that, you can't get anywhere near it, which is not surprising. But and apparently the reason why they've now barricaded the road is because people were ignoring the fact that the road was closed, and a couple of supermarket home delivery vans and transit vans had got themselves nicely stuck in the water. I see one video from someone who does recovery, and he was walking through the water up to, I think it was up to about his waist, and he wasn't the full way in, and he walked by a car where just the headlights and the grille was sticking out of the water. It had been sort of pushed down the bank pushed pushed down the off the side of the road down the bank, and yeah, it was sort of kind of resting on its bum with its front lights and grille sitting just out of the water. I say the rescuer couldn't get all the way down because it literally was the water was deeper than what he was. But yeah, so I was hoping to get there, and oh, hang on, I'm not. I really got to try and keep a better watch on those tractors and trailers. Nobody saw that, right? Here goes the next tractor going the long way around. Oh no, he's actually going to come down here. Blimey. We've only got a few more rounds in this little corner then, and then we're on to the better straights, or the better lengths of the field. Like I say, these fields are a little bit awkward for veg, but once in every 4 years, I think it is, or once every 5 years, I think it's 4 years in the rotation, it's not too bad. So it'll be a little while before we're in here again with these harvesters, and I think the next time round it'll be potatoes anyway, so that'll be on the back of the tractor with the MrJimmyD 170, so that won't be so bad anyway. That's sort of fairly straightforward to manoeuvre because it's on the back of a tractor. This harvester's, you know, a little bit harder to manoeuvre around type spaces. Although the wheel on the back centre does make it fairly easy to turn, so it's not too bad. But yeah. So I was just wondering, I know I've got a couple of people in the stream at the moment that enjoy 1950s. Would me streaming it, and I would advertise it as well, so I wouldn't just, like yesterday and today, it's just kind of been a little bit spontaneous. It's been, I've got a few, you know, I've got a couple of hours free, let's do some live streaming, put it up and hope the sort of people come in. But if I was to do 1950 streaming, of the sort of jobs in between episodes. Because like I say, the episodes aren't going to go anywhere. I'm still going to do the episodes every you know, as sort of every week really. But is me live streaming 1950 something that you guys would be interested in, something that you'd watch? And then if so, sort of, I mean, I can only sort of go in the UK, I can only sort of do the morning or the afternoon, which, you know, for Jeff means that the morning you definitely won't see, I'm assuming, and then the afternoon after about sort of 3 o'clock. But you know, is there sort of an ideal time within the morning afternoon period where you'd be able to enjoy it, and you know, would you like to see me do it? That's fair enough, Plowboy. As I say, I know that obviously I'd be streaming while you was at work. Um, it's just a shame that because obviously I'm in the living room, I I can't sort of pick convenient times for everyone, because in the evenings when I think most people would be able to maybe watch the live streams. Obviously, I've got the family in here watching TV and making noise and doing whatever else they get up to. Okay, that's fair enough, Jeff. Thank you very much. Um, like I say, it's something that I'm planning on doing. Like I say, mainly just because I did get one or two little comments of, you know, you only do the little bits for video, and then, you know, the rest of the time you're using the big stuff or whatever. And it annoyed me a little bit because I've sunk many hundreds of hours into that save, using the little equipment, and so I thought, well, I'll live stream, and then people can see me actually doing the work, you know, with the equipment on the farm that we have, and they can see that, you know, I don't sort of cheat it in any way, mainly because I wouldn't feel right in doing it. But as I say, mainly, you know, I would know, and that would then bother me. um, it's kind of the way that my brain operates. It's like, yeah, but I know you're doing it, you know, sort of not honestly. So, but yeah, as I say, live streaming the 1950s I think would be really good. It's a really good series to do that with. Because, as I said yesterday, you know, it's nice playing with the big modern equipment and everything, and, you know, sort of I was used to it at work and what have you on the second farm, and I was never really into the older stuff until I started 1950s, and I just love using the older stuff. You know, there is something about sitting there having a nice, you know, sort of relaxing time. You know, sort of farming properly, if you understand what I mean by that, because you know, as I sort of was saying earlier in the stream, this isn't really farming properly, because you know NASA is guiding the harvesters down the field, and as a driver, you don't really sit and do that much in these machines anymore. Whereas, as I say, that way, and I don't use GPS either, because obviously GPS wasn't available and around in the 1950s. So you know, I don't even use GPS on the tractors. You know, I do try to drive straight as much as I can. Cheers, Jeff. I appreciate that, mate. Yeah, it's. I must admit, actually, one of the people that messaged is someone that always come from the same profile. I'll say that much. Of someone that I've had a little bit of trouble with in the past, saying very, very pleasant things about me and my channel, which you know, I could kind of understand some of the some of the reasons why people do get upset and offended, but I'm afraid you're wasting your time with me, because I just think it's funny. I realise it's not, as I say, for the people that do get upset by it, but for me, like I say, if you're doing it to offend or upset me, then you really are wasting your time. Because I don't know, I don't think you could offend me if you tried. You know, I sort of grew up in the 80s and 90s, you know, where the premise was sticks and stones and all that business. So, like I say, you know, but it did come from one of the messages. I had a similar message from someone else who wasn't rude and used nowhere near the language that the other one used, but that did sort of say, you know, we know you're cheating away, and as I say, I'm not. You know, just because I really enjoy doing the work on it, and really enjoy the craft that's involved with using the older equipment, and appreciate where farming came from. Like I say, I love farming. You know, I've always loved farming, and you know, to be able to appreciate where it all started and where it came from. I know it started before that, but when sort of mechanisation started to come into farming, and you know, farming was no longer a sort of community thing. It became, I think, well, actually, I think even in the 50s, farming was a community thing. I think it's sort of modern day era, you know, sort of 90s onwards, really, where farming became big business rather than, like I say, a community sort of based. I was going to say activity, but that's not quite the right word. And I'm not quite sort of articulating what it is that I'm trying to say, but I think people understand what I'm trying to get across. I mean, we have the sort of, in today's farming, we have the open farm Sundays, which is where farms sign up to the open farm Sunday scheme, and then one day in the summer, on a Sunday, but one Sunday in the summer, they open the farm up to the public. They usually, between all of them, choose one day. It's usually in and around the 16th of June, and they open the farms up, and then you can go in and have talks and rides out to the field to see the crops, and they talk about the local, you know, sort of history of the fields and because quite a lot of our fields around here have still got like World War II bunkers and lookout towers in, and they're part of English heritage, which means the farmers can't do nothing to them. They have to maintain and preserve them as they were, to which, well, I don't know a farmer that doesn't take great pride in looking after them. I know on the farm we worked on, 3 of our fields, they were on the marsh to be fair, but 3 of our fields had old bunkers. I might even go and ask them if I can walk out to one of them and take some pictures of it for you guys so you can see what they're like. But yeah, they're I think most of them do like to maintain and preserve them. And then as I say, you get to go around the farm, you get to sit on the machinery and stuff like that. It's good for the kids. They go around, like if it's an animal based farm, you go around the the sheep and the goats and the pigs and the cows and whatever else it is that they've got. It's all right, but it's just sort of kind of one day a year. And I do find that as well, a lot of the big farms do alienate themselves from the communities that they farm in, and I think they could do far more. Before I started working on the second farm, they didn't take part in Open Farm Sunday, and I was a big advocate while I was working there that we should be opening up. We should be talking to the people from the area that we were farming, so that they could understand why we're working so late at night behind their house, so that they could understand why sometimes the roads are a little bit dirtier than what perhaps they would like. And I used to say to the farm, let me take a bag of vegetables or whatever into the schools. Let me talk about the harvest, the goodness. Get kids interested, because, and I still feel it. I still, when I sort of listen to local people and kids and that, and I still hear it. I think farming it's in a terrible position, and I don't know about the rest of the world. I can only talk about the UK, but where the government's hammering the farms on one side of the fence, and then the farming is no longer appealing to kids, apart from the kids that are growing up in farming. But for everyone else, it's no longer a career prospect, if you like, and I think it's a great shame, and I think that a lot more needs to be done by farms to show that actually it is, not only is it essential for us to get our food and to eat, but it is also an attractive industry to get into. Yeah, it's the same as well, Jeff, in the UK. A lot of the small family farms, the government have introduced, or they did back in the 80s and the 90s, which did get rid a lot of the family farms, and now the government are kind of sort of doing it again. A lot of family farms in this country are calling it the second cull. So Margaret Thatcher, the leader of the 80s, she called, as they say, most of the farms sort of back then, and now we've got a Labour government in charge now, and they're sort of doing it again. All of the subsidies to our farmers have gone, which I don't think is a bad thing personally. I think farms relied too heavily on subsidies from the government. I sort of kind of think that a lot of farms got into this sort of cushy position where if the wheat didn't do too well, it doesn't matter. The government pick up the slack. But at the same time, there were businesses out there that were doing it well, and the subsidies were helping them to invest and to grow, their businesses and their family farms sort of thing. But yeah, it's not good at the moment. So the government have cut all of the money. They've now put a inheritance tax on all the farms as well. Although that does look like the farmers are starting to win that battle, and that looks as if that might be another government U-turn, which is good. It's I don't know. I think farming across the world's perhaps not in the best position. And of course, the other thing as well that our government have just done is pledged so many £1 billion. I think it was £1.25 billion in Brazilian farming for us to be able to import their wheat. When it has often been said, and I do believe it. If God forbid, if there ever was a third world war, we would starve to death in England, because we just we just import everything. And we export everything, and it's nuts to me that countries send their stuff they produce to abroad and don't use what we grow, and I don't know, like I say, I obviously don't know all the ins and outs of all of it. I only hear the headlines in the papers and the news and stuff like that, and so I don't know all the details, but I do think it's a damn shame that the world has got the way that it has, really. Well, we're certainly getting through this field now. Like I say, once you get the awkward little corners out, things do move quite nicely. I don't know how we're sort of set for this corner up here. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. We're not doing too bad off this field, to be fair. 325,000 litres is pretty good. Yeah, that sounds about right, Ploughboy. I'd say that's what's going on in this country, and it just, I don't know, it don't make no sense to me, but like I say, I suppose just see the headlines. I don't know the true ins and outs of all of it, but what was it that Oliver Anthony sang? The Rich Men North of Richmond. When I heard that song I think could apply to any country in the world. I thought it was a well written, well sung song that he'd done. Yeah, and I'm sure it was called the Rich Men North of Richmond. I'm sure that's what it was called. But yeah, as I say, for me that song applies to just about any and every country in the world. It's a very good song. I don't know whether Ploughboy, you've heard of that song, but I guess it's a sort of country slash folky sort of type song. It's just a yeah, to be fair, I thought you would have heard of it, but yeah, it is a very good song. And as I say, you know, for me, it applies to just about every country in the world. You know, I know he was sort of singing about the US, but you know, it's true of the UK, and I think it's true of everywhere. Yeah, I agree, PA. I absolutely agree with you, mate. It's the only bit I don't like is waiting for the carts. Especially when they take this long. Honestly, one of these times the tractor and trailer that's full is going to be emptied and back round by the time they get to me. The one thing I'd love to set up with this, and I've never done it with auto drive. I've always wanted to try it. I've wanted to try it with combining first, but to set it up for the veg harvest, because I do think it would speed things up, is to have an overloader running alongside me, and then just go to the tractors and trailers and obviously fill them on the end of the field. You'd probably only need one tractor and trailer. You'd need the other tractor in the field with the overload trailer, and do it that way. Obviously, it's sort of in combine in terms with the grain chasers and stuff. It's quite big in the US, Australia, and places like that. It is now coming over here as well. Quite a few of the bigger farms are no longer driving through the fields with tractors and trailers. They're using sort of quad tracks or 9RXs with the big grain chasers or grain bins or whatever you know them as, and then just loading lorries on the end, like on the road or on the ends of the fields or whatever. So it is sort of slowly but surely coming over, but I'd quite like to set that up for farming sim. Oh. On me head, son. Excuse me. I tell you, it's taken most of the day just to do this one field, hence the reason why I opened that field out before doing the middle of this field, because as I say, in real life that's how I used to do it, basically, so you weren't opening the field up in the dark. Not too bad on this map and on FS in general, but in real life you didn't want to be backing into tight corners with huge machines where you couldn't see the dikes and the other obstacles in the field. So yeah, that's as I say, that's the way we used to do it. No, that's interesting, Ploughboy. Yeah, like I say, it's a relatively, well, it is a new thing that's come over here in the last sort of, I suppose it's been here about sort of 5 to 10 years, and only a couple of farms were doing it, but as I say, now a lot of the big farms are doing it. You know, a lot of the big farms now are no longer relying on contracted in haulage. You know, they're buying their own lorries, taking on, you know, sort of dedicated lorry drivers and doing their own. The farm I worked on, that had 4 lorries, and we used to do all of our own haulage. And as I say, they've gone over to grain chasers. I really will try this summer and get out and actually get some some videos of the farm that I worked on harvesting. So the video that I did of the harvesting last year was of the first farm that I worked on, which was a much smaller family farm, whereas the second farm that I worked on was, you know, a big business farm. It was, I suppose, corporation is the word I'm looking for, but yeah, it was. But it was the first farm that I did the video on. But I will try this year and get out and get some farm 2 footage, probably of them tatey planting, and drilling and sugar beet planting and stuff like that, as well as harvest and through the year. But because they've got so much land, it's sometimes a bit of a potluck as to whether you come across them in the fields or not. I think probably now that when we come back the other next time, we can now split this side in half now as well, and then work around, because otherwise we're going to end up in the corner again, turning in and around on ourselves, and auto drive's not going to like that. So we'll split that now. We'll try and measure it by eye. Yesterday I measured it by eye and I got it wrong by 1 row, so we'll see if we can do any better today. We'll probably do a lot worse, but we'll have a go. Why not? Why not? So nearly another trailer full. Which is good. The fuller we can make the farm, the fuller we can make the soup factory, the more money I can make. Although having said that, we're not doing too bad for money at the moment, but I think this is the first year where I've not literally spent the money as it's come in. We have pretty much now got all of the equipment that I sort of wanted to do the job right. So we'll soon be able to invest in buildings and developments and stuff like that, which will be really good, because it would be nice to get the other side of the business up and running. Yeah, it'd be nice to, as I say, start to get the offices all built. Oops. I really am not very good at keeping an eye on my tractors and trailers. It's ironic, isn't it? He won't drive over that little bit of crop to get this side. But once he's in the middle, he'll drive over this little bit of crop to get this side, rather than just go in the extra 10 yards to go. Oh dear. At least the flow's a lot more constant with the parsnips over what was happening with the carrots yesterday, when for whatever reason the elevator was just stopping all the time. I'm not sure why that was doing that yesterday. I've never seen that before. But let's say today, touch wood, it seems to be working a lot better. I think I've gone far too far over this time, so I don't think it's going to work out right this time. Never mind. You know, it really bugs me how much these machines sink into dry land. Never mind. We could start a whole new rant on that one, and I'm not going to. Oh no. Might have to start lifting that up when we turn. Otherwise I'm going to be buying new cabs for my tractors. Excuse me. I'll tell you, my chair's a bit creaky again, isn't it? I did actually sort that out from the last time we were live streaming. Excuse me, which was about a month ago, when it was really, really squeaky. So I did actually, as I say, I did actually sort that out, but it's quite creaky again, isn't it? Either that or I'm getting fatter. Which is probably more true actually than the chair being more creakier. When I went in December, when I got taken into hospital, my heart specialist met me on the day there, and the first thing she said was, "Hi James, Jesus, you've put weight on." No, Jesus, you've got fat, and it just made me laugh at a time when I was really struggling. It just made me laugh so much. And then she's kind of put a hand over her mouth, and she's like, "Oh, I'm ever so sorry. I shouldn't have said that out loud." And it's like, "Oh, it's funny. Don't worry about it." Oh dear, we've gone the wrong side here. We need to move over, Mr. Tractor Man. Sorry, my bad. My bad. Well, we'll have to go down this one now because I've messed that up completely. But yeah, no, she did make me laugh. And I had my blood pressure taken and stuff, and then she goes, "Well, I was gonna weigh you, but I don't think my scales are gonna be able to take it." Honestly, she was just so so funny. But in all fairness to her, a day later she sort of solved everything really. She basically told me what she was going to do. She told me how it was going to feel, and then she said hopefully as long as you recover quick enough, you'll go home the next day. Yeah, it was all right in the end, but it was a bit scary when it happened again. It hasn't happened, my arrhythmia, for 10 years. And because 10 years is quite a long time, and you forget how scary it is, and then it happens, and yeah, I panicked. I don't mind admitting, but as I say, in all fairness to the hospital, and they are really, really good with me. Oh. We're doing some drifting with the trailer. Yeah, they're as I say, they're really good. I rang them up and sort of said I've got a problem. And within sort of 2 days they had me in, and within was it 4 days I think it was, I was home again. Had a bit of a rough Christmas and sort of beginning to New Year really, because it kept happening, but thankfully now, touch wood, they seem to have sorted it on the permanent, well, not on the permanent side, because it's that I've been told it will come back, but they've sorted it enough at the moment that like last Saturday I was able to go racing. And that's really all that was bothering me, was the fact that I just wanted to be able to go racing and enjoy my stock cars, and thankfully, as I say, I went last Saturday, and although the track rejected my disabled badge for whatever reason, I it really annoys me, and I've had it a few times. It's usually at the supermarket where I get it. I mean, thankfully I don't really go to supermarkets anymore, but when I was with my ex, you go to the supermarket. Now, some of the supermarkets, you know, if you was to park in the main car park, it was a long way away. And if I was on a bad day, I probably couldn't walk the distance. So on bad days, I don't use the disabled bays all the time because 99%, well 90% of the time, I feel good and well enough that I can walk. And there are people out there that, you know, can't walk or don't have legs or need oxygen or whatever, that really do find walking a struggle. And I sort of kind of think to myself, no, I'll, you know, save that. But if I'm having a bad day and there's a space, then yes, I will be using that space. And I went racing on Saturday and showed my badge, and the guy on the gate said, "What's wrong with you?" And so I said, "It doesn't really matter, does it?" I said, "Like, as long as I've got my badge, I can, you know, park in here." And I was having a little bit of a sort of off day Saturday, and sort of, you know, my heart was sort of fluttering and jumping and skipping and doing all kinds of wonderful weird things, and I didn't really feel like I could walk very far. And the plan was to park in the disabled parking, which is right next to the track. Literally walk into the track, and then because I pre-buy my ticket, so I literally just sort of walk in. Just scan my phone on the thing and just walk through, and the plan was I would walk through and literally take my seat and then not move all night. And anyway, in the end, I sort of said that you know, I'd got a heart condition, and the man on the gate said, "I'm sorry, I can't let you park in here. That's not a valid reason." I was like, I just, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? That is very true, Jeff. Very, very true. Although I guess in a sort of, I don't know, lucky's not quite the right word, but I have had the heart condition from birth, so it's not something that's sort of crept up on me. It's always been there, but yeah, it's doesn't make it any easier, to be fair. But you know, as I say, it's not something that's sort of kind of come out of the blue. 'Cause then I can imagine it being sort of really terrifying for the you know, for the people that heart conditions and different things do sort of come out of the blue with. Whereas I am fairly used, well, I am used to it, you know, major operations and strokes and God knows what else later, and there's not much they can sort of kind of say and do that in a way scares me, but at the same time it does worry me, you know, of course, you know, which is natural, but yeah. But yeah, it did make me, well, it made me sort of angry at first, but sort of 3 days on, I was like, you know, not a valid reason. I was like, Jesus. I, it, the mind boggles at what would be a valid reason. And of course, I got back to the, went and parked absolute blooming miles away because it was really busy Saturday because, I'd say, it was the opening night of the season, and so it was packed on Saturday night, and I got back to the track from the long walk that I'd had. The long walk that I'd had, it took about 1,300 steps to go from the car to the track, and then I still obviously had to walk that back. And when I got to the gate, the man said to me, he goes, "See, I told you it was okay to walk." And I was honestly, I couldn't breathe. I was like, I was like, and I didn't have the strength, breath, or anything in me to even begin to argue with him. And I just literally walked past him, sort of carrying on. And when I got to the bit where you scan your phone to just go straight in, the the lady that was stood there, she goes, "Blimey," she goes, "You're out of shape. I think you need to get down the gym." I think I must have been sort of like blue. Could hardly breathe. But anyway, luckily recovered quite quickly, thankfully, and did manage to enjoy the rest of the night. And I've done it again, look. I've done it again. But yeah, it was good. Say that hopefully Saturday feel okay. We'll be off to Ipswich this Saturday. That's the plan at the moment. It does depend also on the weather. To be fair, it's quite like I say, the season's just begun, so if I miss a couple of meetings at the beginning of the year, it doesn't really bother me too much, especially because Saturday was bloody cold there. I wasn't quite. I mean, obviously I worked on a farm, and I don't mind the cold weather, but when you just stood still, or sat still as I was, yeah, it was cold. It was very cold. So as I say, if this Saturday talks of being cold, then we might be missing Saturday and Sunday as well, because it's on the next day. It's on at Yarmouth, and that's by the coast, so that'll be even colder. So we'll wait and see on that one, but we'll see what happens. Well, I have to say, it's an absolute lovely day again. Like I say, this is the third day straight of no rain, which is really good. But it's currently bright blue skies out there at the moment. Kind of puts you in that mind picture of being at an airport with, and I've never been to an airport, by the way, never flown anywhere. I'm hoping this year to pluck up the courage and get a flight to Scotland, because I've had a bit of an idea for a YouTube video, and I haven't really said anything to anyone because I don't know whether I'm going to do it or whether I'm not going to do it, but I had the idea of a video of Race the Sun. So the idea was that at sunrise, on the particular day that I choose, we catch a flight from Heathrow to Aberdeen, which is the furthest north you can go in this country, and then from Aberdeen we then catch a train and then travel the whole length of the country back down to the south, to the furthest south point, which is Penzance, and see if I can beat the sun. So sunrise, when the sun comes up, we take flight, and the flight from Heathrow to Aberdeen is about 2 hours, I think it is. I think it's about 2 hours and 2 minutes. 2 minutes, 20 minutes. And then the train journey from, the way I'd worked it out, I should get into Penzance roughly about 10-20 minutes before sunset. So if there was a hold up or delay or whatever somewhere, then I wouldn't be able to complete the challenge. So that was kind of the idea for a video that I've had. So I'm hoping at some point this year, it's going to have to be fairly early, because if I wait too late in the year, then there's going to be way enough daylight hours and sun hours that I'll easily do it, because in the height of, you know, sort of summer, you get like sort of 18 hours of daylight, and the train journey from Aberdeen to Penzance is about 15 hours and is it, or 14 hours, something like that. I did look it all up, but yeah, I was kind of sort of thinking about doing a blog type video where, as I say, we try and race the sun. And then doing another one sort of a bit later in the year, towards the end of the year, where we then race the sun from east to west, because obviously the sun rises in the east. So then race it from east to west, so go from the most easterly point to the most westerly point. So I don't know, but that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing. It kind of and you know, the other thing as well is that when you have a bit of a scare like we had in December, you do sort of think to yourself, you know, I really do need to make the most of life, because, you know, I understand that I've got heart failure, and I understand that at some point my heart is just going to stop. You know, that I understand that, I know that, and I thought I probably really should, you know, not stop saying I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it, I will do it, you know, and actually just do it. You know, because one day, you know, hopefully not for another 300 years, but one day I will be too late, you know. So yeah, but it's something that appeals, and something that I'd quite like to have a go at. I've not seen anyone else do it. I'm sure lots of people have done it, not necessarily perhaps in the UK, but you know, somewhere else in the world. And then to sort of then catch a train, another idea that I had was to catch a train in Aberdeen and see, from catching a train in Aberdeen and only using trains and tubes and subways and stuff like that, see how far into Europe I could get. That really appeals to me too. I'm also hoping to do a video with someone. Whether this will happen or not, I don't know, because the person that I'm kind of in discussions with doing this with, let's just say, and be nice about it, they're not the most reliable, but at the moment they're all up for it. But I've been in this situation before where they're right up for it until the time it comes to do it, and then it's like, no, I don't want to do it actually. But yeah, so they're right up for it at the moment. But is doing the journey of a Lancaster bomber on the dam buster raids when they went to bomb the dams in Germany, and the Ruhr Dam and places like that, and travel across Europe on a train, taking in the cities that they would have passed, and eventually reaching the dams, and going and exploring the dams around there. So it's sort of another kind of video idea that I'd quite like to do, which I think would be really enjoyable to do. But like I say, I don't, you know, the biggest thing is that obviously I've got to sort of try and remember that my channel is about farming, and that's not necessarily farming. It's then whether people would be interested in watching me do stuff like that. You know, getting out and doing stuff. I'm hoping this year as well I actually do finally get to the David Brown Museum. So every time last year me and the lady sorted it out, did something happen or come up that I couldn't then go, And she's been in touch again a couple of times, saying, you know, we would really like you to come and film here. We would really like you to come and, you know, go round and give the talk of David Brown and the history and keep it alive. And so I'm really hoping that this year I do actually get there. That would, you know, would be really good. But yeah, sometimes it's just time, and sometimes, as I say, things just come up, and every time I wanted to go there, something came up, and it was really frustrating. Alright, let's set up the GPS. Oh, don't go backwards. Don't go backwards. Okay, alright, you sort yourself out. I'm going down there. Oh, ouch. Sorry if that was a loud bang in people's ears. No, it's quite interesting that, as I say, both of you would be quite interested. Yeah, so thinking about doing it, thinking about sort of trying to do loads of things, loads of different things. You know, is he not going to go back to the farm? Because that's going to be a bit of an issue. That's going to be a bit of an issue that we're going to run into here. But yeah, so say like loads of sort of trips that I could take and do. But say the lady that is on about doing the German dam ones, we've got fairly close to doing stuff in the past, and then, as I say, she's then just sort of said, "Oh no, I actually don't want to do it," which is fine. But a couple of times we'd paid and bought the tickets and everything, and I was sort of kind of going with her because she's already done a few of the things that I want to do with her husband, you know, on holidays and stuff. And I was kind of going with her because I wanted to kind of see how to go on so that I could then do these things on my own. But I'm one of these sort of people where I don't really have that much self-confidence and self-belief. So if someone could show me first, I'll then go off and do it, and I'll be fine doing it. Like, but you know, as like you know, a few people have said to me is, "Yeah, don't worry about it. You just got to go and do it." You know, like it's not as hard or as bad as what you think it is. And he said, like, you know, literally, you turn up at the airport, you go to the check-in desk, a bit like the trains. You look at, you know, where your plane's going from. You go to the check-in desk, you check in. And then you just sit and wait until you get told to board, and then you just go and board the plane, and basically when you get the other end, you just go in reverse. So it's like, you know, okay, fair enough, but you know, as I say, I've never seen it or done it, and I do kind of I would kind of like to just experience it once with someone who knows exactly what they're doing, and sort of just see how it works, and then go off and do it all by myself, because I do prefer doing things by myself, just because, like I say, sometimes my heart can play up and stuff, and it's not very nice for other people when that's happening, and you know, then sort of I feel then that I'm kind of spoiling their day or whatever, or you know, and so I do prefer to do it on my own, because that way there's only me to please, basically. But yeah, it would be a cool thing to do. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze. But yeah, so like I say, you know, but the David Brown one, you know, definitely want to do that one. The only thing with the museum is ideally we wanted to do it before the museum opens in April, because the museum only opens on a Sunday, and they're quite keen to do the video and everything when there's no one else there. So it's just sort of kind of between now and April to try and find you know, a bit of free time to do it. Luckily that this time of year the racing is not every week at the minute, so by the time we get to late April, May, it'll be every week, you know, and it'll be every week that I'll be off somewhere, so there will be no time, and plus as well, as I say, the museum will be open by then anyway, so but yeah, I really want to do the David Brown Museum because I think it's it looks amazing with all the tractors that they've got on show and stuff, and B, I think it would be really interesting, and one of the things that I sort of said that I would like is I'd like the museum tour guide to actually do the talking, because he knows, you know, far more about it than what I do. But David Brown's is the tractor that I started on, you know, when I was 8 years old. Mum worked on a flower farm, on a or what they call a bulb farm in this country, and I used to, in the summer holidays, I used to go to work with her in the day, and we'd be out in the fields, or if they were bagging the bulbs, then we would be at the farm in the sheds, and David, who ran the farm, very nice man, and his wife Mary, and they were really lovely people, and David used to let me, you know, sort of sit on the combine and sit on the tractors and pretend I was driving. And then or I think it was in July, August time, they were out in the fields finishing off the bulb harvest, and David used to say to me, "When I need to put the boxes out, young man, you need to get off the tractor so that I can get on and go and, you know, do what I need to do." You know, fair enough, that's, you know, no problem, because back in the 80s you were brought up with respect and, you know, to do as your elders said. And one day I jumped off the tractor because I knew he was coming towards me to do the boxes, because I could see the boxes were running out, and I was 8 years old, and he stood there, he looked at the tractor, he looked at me, and he goes, "Do you want to have a go at doing it?" And I was I remember I went, "I'm only 8." And he said, "Yeah, I know." He said, "But you'll be all right." He said, "We'll put it in the lowest gear." He said, and yeah, he said, "You'll be fine." He said, "I'll stand on the back." He said, "And I'll throw the boxes off." So the way he used to do it was in the low gear, and then the tractor would literally sort of crawl along the field, and he'd be walking beside it, just chucking the boxes off, and then obviously when he get to the other end of the field, he'd climb aboard, turn round, and then do the same coming back. And he said, "I'll be on the back." He said, "I'll chuck the boxes off." He said, "You just steer it down the field." And oh, it was amazing. And as I say, it was a David Brown 886 that I started my farming life on, really. I mean, before that I'd been riding with my granddad on the first farm that I worked on, because he worked there at the time, and so I'd been riding with him on the track Marshall crawler and on the David Browns and stuff like that. But to actually, as I say, at that age, you know, get to drive a tractor on my own. And of course it was absolutely priceless, it was, because I was coming towards my mum and the other lady that worked with mum. There's only two ladies that picked the bulbs, and then there was Mary and then David, and mum's who she was working with, she's sort of like tapping my mum quite, you know, violently on the arm. She's going, "Pulling, pulling, pulling," and mum she goes, "What?" And she says, "James is driving down here on the tractor." And mum looked up, and the thing was, mum started shouting at me, thinking I'd done it by myself. And then she saw David on the back chucking the boxes off, and then And David was going, it's all right. He said, calm down. He said, like, I told him he could do it. But yeah, I'll never forget that day. Honestly, it was the greatest day of my life. That was the first ever time I drove a tractor. I'd steered the tractors with my granddad and stuff, but it's not the same as actually, you know, being in the cab, in the seat, by yourself, steering down the field. And yeah, it was amazing. It was really, really good. And I guess he said to me, he goes, if you want to stop or need to stop quickly, I said, yeah. He said, don't bother with the brake. I said, no. He said, no. He said, just pull this lever. He said, and the tractor will stop. I said, okay. And it was the stop lever. He said, yeah, don't worry about the brakes. Just pull this lever. And yeah, I'd say it was amazing. Absolutely fantastic. So I am really desperate to get over to the David Brown Museum and see, you know, the first off the production line to the last one off the production line, which you know, was, I think it was a Case, the last one off the production line, because obviously Case bought David Brown out in the 90s, I think it was, and I'm sure it was mid 90s when Case IH bought David Brown out, and I'm pretty certain that it was a Case that was the last David Brown factory made tractor to be released in this country before David Brown was removed completely from the name. Whether those tractors made it abroad, I don't know, but certainly I mean, there's still some farms around here that have got a Case David Brown, or a Case IH David Brown. Honestly, the farmers around here, they get very, very upset if you leave the IH out. You can't just say Case David Brown around here, you have to say Case IH David Brown. But yeah, as I say, that was I'm pretty certain was the last tractor off the production line. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. As I say, hopefully I'll get there before the museum does open to the public, so that we can go around there by ourselves. There'll be no sort of distractions, talking or anything like that, and we'll be able to have the tour guide show us round, which will be really, really good, and give us the talk and the gen on everything that happened. Certainly is, Jeff. Yeah, it certainly is. I wouldn't swap it for anything in the world. Like, I used to sort of be at school and see the other kids, and I used to think, don't know what you're missing. The townie kids, as we used to call them. You know, the kids that used to cry like hell when they used to get stung by a stinging nettle, or they would scream at the sight of a bee. We used to call them the Wimpy Town kids. It was so funny. We went to a heritage park on a school trip, and obviously I come from deep in the countryside, and the school was in town, and so we used to get ferried in on a bus, and we went on this school trip. And I always remember this lad, big tough lad, you know, one of the sort of school class bullies, you know, so-called, you know, big tough mean kid. And one of my friends from who I sort of grew up around where I lived, pulled a stinging nettle out of the ground, was holding it in his hand, and he happened to drag it first down my arm, which, you know, yeah, it stings and it tingles and stuff, but, you know, I've been stung by stinging nettles, you know, every day of my life, sort of thing, like, you know, it didn't, and then he did it to the school, but just dragged it down his arm really, really lightly. Oh dear me, I've never seen anyone cry so much. I was just like, blimey, it's only a stinging nettle. And then we used to, because there's So if you got stung by a stinging nettle, we got, as kids, you were taught that if you were stung by stinging nettles, say in the grass or whatever, or somewhere near to where those stinging nettles was another plant called a dockleaf plant. And you were taught that if you got stung, you look for the dockleaf and you break the dockleaf off its stem, and then you basically rub it into where you got stung, and the dockleaf will take away all of the stinging. Now, I'm not sure whether that was just your parents kind of trying to make it better the first couple of times you got stung and it was painful and sore and everything, or whether that is actually a genuine thing. And the problem is that as an adult I've tried it where I've deliberately grabbed a hold of a nettle and then rubbed a dock leaf on, but because you were told that was what was happening, I don't know whether that is what does happen because you were told it, or whether that happens because they do actually get rid of the stings. I'm not sure, but yeah, we the young lad that David, his name was, I think, or was it David? Began with D anyway. I think it was David. And of course, one of us others kids went and broke a dock leaf off and said, you know, rub that in. No, no, don't you come anywhere near me with it. It was like, it will help. And it's like, but yeah, it was so funny. It was really, really funny. I say, you know, sort of around school, he's the big hard kid, you know, sort of bullied and took the mick out of us country folk, and then cried like a little baby when he got stung by a stinging nettle. It was, I always remember that as one of the few things of school that I do actually still remember at this grand old age of 45, as I will be in a couple of weeks' time. Yeah, it's funny as hell, that was. I tell you what, this field's soon disappearing as well. I know they're not really big fields out here. Like I say, they're a little bit awkward really for this type of harvesting. Oh, the trailer's drifting again. There we go. Back onto some firmer ground. Yeah, it's we're soon getting through it. I really hope that tractor can get round before this one gets filled. Because, excuse me. Because we're going to be without a tractor until he's now unloading, I think. Oh no, is he unloaded? No, he's still going to the... or he's slowing down, so he's getting there. He's getting there. He's not going to be back in time, mind. There we go, he's now unloading, but this one is now virtually full. There we go. Always wondered how far down that goes, or that far. Suppose you could lay it down on the ground and then go and pick it up thereafter, if you was really that way inclined, but I've always been curious as to how far down that actually goes. Anyway, we've got a minute or two now, so we'll turn the engine off, save some diesel, and we'll wait for the tractor and trailer to get back. Yeah, it's a shame. It was because we had to reset the GPS up on the end of the field there, and that meant that they got out of whack, which was unfortunate. Yeah, if there's one thing I hate doing, it's waiting. I had to go to the GPs today to get my INR tested, which is a finger prick blood test for how fast your blood clots. And God, my appointment was 10 o'clock. I got there at about 10 to 10. Waiting room was packed. Loads of people coughing everywhere. I was thinking, oh, this is great. This is at 25 past 10. I'm thinking, oh, I'm soon going to leave because I came in quite well. I'm not going to leave well if I stay here for any much longer. And eventually I got called in and I went in. She was like, sorry about the wait. I said, that's okay. I said, I had a shave this morning. I said, I'm going to have a shave again now. She didn't take too kindly to. I was only joking. I was sort of having a bit of a, laugh and a mess about with her, but no, she didn't take too kindly to that one. So we perhaps know in future not to have a sense of humour around the young nurse, either that or she was just stressed and worked under, I suppose. But thanks very much for joining us on the stream today, Jeff. And hope you have a good day. And don't work too hard, as I always say. But thanks ever so much for being on the for joining me on the stream. It's much appreciated. Here he is. We're away again. We're away again. Right, I am going to have to leave the stream here, guys. I've just been told that my evening meal is ready, so I'm going to go off and have some tea. And as I say, thanks to everyone that's joined me this afternoon on the stream. I really appreciate it, and enjoyed the conversations and chat that we've had as well. And like I say, we will be eventually, now that I'm getting the hang of streaming, getting the hang of the settings, getting the hang of everything, hopefully I will be streaming a lot more and moving forward, and I'll be advertising it more so people know when it's going to be, what time it's going to be. They'll know what we're going to be playing, because we won't always be farming sim. I will sometimes play some other games as well. But yeah, so thanks ever so much for joining me. I've really enjoyed having your company, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.